Hey folks, welcome back. This is the Solo Gamer, and we're picking up where I left off with some new gear, new digs, new stuff. And we're gonna take a look at Alien Resurrection, a game with an interesting distinction as being a perfect example of game journalism being an outmoded and outdated system long before now. But yeah, Alien Resurrection was one of the first games released for the PlayStation to make full use of its DualShock analog system. Yeah, to make full use of the DualShock analog system. Yeah, I'll go easy. Yeah, see, it was one of the first to use dual stick. And it got, honestly, really hammered for it by, I forget the media outlet, but one of the media outlets gave it a lot of crap for using dual stick because they believed it was that it was an inefficient system. Of course, now dual stick support is literally at the full baseline.
Biocontainment unit, please report to R&D.
Forgot to turn off the invert.
Dissection chambers, breach in progress. Access denied. You do not have Delta 5 security clearance.
As you can tell, this is a definitely older game.
Delta 5 security clearance granted. Tactical squad, please report to lower engineering deck.
Yeah. Yeah, these boys have been getting roughed up. Now, the game also received substantial flack for its difficulty. Apparently, it was incredibly hard for its era. Which, to be fair, that makes sense for a game of this era. Difficulty was a common problem, and it's reasons, it's stuff like that that eventually would lead.
Electrical discharge is present in this sector.
You don't say. Now, to be fair, when this game released, DualShock was still in its infancy, and the technology was nowhere near what it is now in terms of smoothness or responsiveness. You can feel that here. The game is stiff and sticky and difficult to maneuver. It also has some definite visual issues. I'm not sure if that's the Polymega or if that was just the game's infrastructure and interface. One of the best things about Polymega, though, is that if you need to, the game does feature without.
Will all non-essential personnel please report to lifeboats?
Oh, that can't be good.
You do not have the proper security clearance to access the warehouse.
Now, to be fair, I got this game out of curiosity. But it's clear to me that this was an interesting... Whoa. I saw that shit.
Lifeboats unavailable in this area. Please proceed to the engineering deck bays. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay. Yeah, you get the idea. It was an early, and I mean early, first-person shooter. And they were trying to do something unique with it, which sadly I don't know that they succeeded. I don't know if I'd consider this a success. Like, the game handles okay, but God almighty does it feel stiff.
Warehouse access granted.
Yeah, aiming this thing is super hard. Now, granted, I can see why when they did the review, they thought it was a little bit too hard. But that's not the control scheme itself. It's just that these controls are stiff as all hell. Stiff as a board and
Task card accepted.
stiff as a board and just about as friendly. Yeesh. You sure took a lot of rounds to go down, bitch. Alright, so yeah, you get the idea. It works. And I can definitely see how they might have interpreted what was an exceptionally early version of this game, of this control scheme, negatively. It is very stiff and very, very, very unwieldy. And later iterations, of course, would smooth it out massively. But nah, for the early days, I can kind of understand how people would say, "Nah, man, this thing is kind of freaking screwed up." All right, so moving on to the big event for today, the Polymega collection. Now, Polymega recently went into something rather unique. They started making their own gaming collections that you can buy as package deals, including all the different versions of different games from across a particular genre. And that is actually super cool because a lot of this stuff never got released in America properly. Gunbird is a fantastic example. A lot of this stuff got released either massively mutilated or so badly chopped up that it comes out as just broken. Now, there we go. Now, this is the original Gunbird, which did receive a limited release in America. And for lack of a... Oh, wait. Can I turn analog on? Yes, I can. For lack of a better term, got a sort of neutered port in America. It's your run-of-the-mill, straightforward shoot 'em up. Colorful graphics. It's by Sequel, so they're naturally one of the groups you would expect to have this kind of thing. But it was unique in that it was a very sort of tongue-in-cheek, silly, humorous version of the game. You know, not serious at all, and all sort of super anime bullshit. And I love that. Like, this is one of those things where I just absolutely adore this stuff. And here comes the hot female evil girl with her ridiculously stupid henchman. Oh no, I took a bad hit. Time to level the playing field by nuking everything. So yeah, you get the idea. Now and of course, being a Polymega game, you can save state it all you like, exit the game, and revert back to this and try other games. The Gunbird 2 is interesting because it actually had more characters, better visuals, and if I remember correctly, this is the one where you could play as Morgan from Darkstalkers. I could be wrong, my memory's kind of junky right now, but yeah, it's still a perfect example of why I love Polymega, because Polymega can load all this stuff into one platform and run it smoothly. Alright, so let's... Okay, so yeah, I forget who it was, but like Morgan is a hidden character in one of these games. Alucard. And I forget, I think in America, one of these games was like a Mobile Light Force, and then another one was released as Gunbird on the Saturn. And you can build up. One of the neat things about this game is you could build up additional power by defeating enemies, and it would give you more abilities. Hey, look. Look, she's back. Or maybe that's a different girl, I don't know. Like I said, been at least a decade plus since I played this blasted game. Ooh, you just lost an arm. So yeah, you get the idea. But that's the thing. Each of these games is their own history or game from the platform at all, and you can basically go through them all at your discretion. Gunbird 2, Exerion, Psy Battler, Sky Fox, Excisor, which was the Japanese version of Sky Fox. And then, of course, Operation Logic Bomb, the SFC, and then the Japanese version of the Operation Logic Bomb, which ironically had multiple variants across the board. And then you also have the Saturn version, which I actually have this. Like, it's in my actual collection. I actually own the physical variant. And then there was a PlayStation 1, and then there was a Saturn 1. Show and Inky. God, what a fucking weird series that is. Ultimate Invader. I've said before, you really want to see the most amazing weird shit. Japan is where it was at, baby. But anyway, moving on to the next item in my list. This is where we actually see something I wanted to bring on later on. Let's see. There was a game series called Rushing Beat. And it's actually a part of a larger series of games going back all the way back to the arcade in 1988. But in America, it got a release under the listing for Rival Turf, Brawl Brothers, and the Peacekeepers. The truth is, it actually was Rushing Beat Ran, and Rushing Beat Shura. But Shura is the one I know the most because it was known as the Peacekeepers, and I actually have an honest-to-God physical copy of this shit. Now, what's notable about this is that the Rushing Beat Shura series had a different intro than the Peacekeepers did. They also had different names for each of the characters. It's also notable that they had that the soundtrack is inherently different in the Japanese version than it is in the English version. Now, you might be asking, why was this game? What made this game unique for its time? Because it was released in 1993, so this was way near the end of the SNES lifespan, right as the PlayStation was hitting its stride. And see, that's even different from the English version, because in the English version, he cuts loose a massive lightning blast. Which I'm assuming they thought that would be too confusing for like Americans. Is why is this dude summoning dragons? Now this game was also notoriously hard for its era. And there's actually a follow-up to this game just released on Steam called Rushing Beat: The Return of the Brawl Brothers, which is a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that this game's series got horrifically butchered. That being said, it's not that the games for the English version were bad. Not at all. It's like, I actually have the original version. I'm hoping they kept a weird English intro screen. Yeah, there's the one I recognize. Jellicoe! Yeah. Yeah, this game had a very different feel in America. And you can see they changed the names, they changed the music, the whole 9 yards. Now there's an interesting rub here. The game has two background audio tracks. There's ambience and there's music. And the ambience is just background noise, and it varies depending upon region. But like I mentioned earlier, one of the things that's different is in the English version, Flynn does lightning bolts. Yeah. And then, of course, there's Tough Enough. Tough Enough was an actual fighting game that was released into the same general connection because it was made by the same people, Seiken. And in Japan, it was known as Dead Dance. They also would make as part of their last stand, they would make the Fallen Angels, which I think was one of the last games they made. Honestly, it's a game I never played. I'd never even heard of it. That's why when I saw that they were doing this whole thing, I thought, I need to take a look at this and find out what the deal is, and go from there. And what's unique about this game is, of course, its art style. Now, that being said, I have never played this game, so I have zero idea how it works. Okay, so yeah, this game definitely feels... It definitely feels like an updated version of Tough Enough. But I just don't know the moveset. Yeah, it works. And it's neat to have this game, which never actually came out to America, listed here. Yeah, like, but this was their last hurrah, I think. It was the last thing they did. Because these were early games. This was 93, alongside all of these, which were within about 4-year span. These were the earlier games. And so you can kind of see where they're going, but these are now part of a collection you can buy online and have shipped to you directly. And they're all kind of like unique time capsules for their history. I honestly think it's a great little way to see things. Just like I love the fact that you can still find and get access to like old arcade collections, you know? Stuff like this on the Sega Saturn or Sega Genesis is still around, where you can get an arcade collection and just run with it. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of 32X stuff out there. Kind of sad, really. I could see where the system could have had a real future if they'd have been smarter about how they were going to work with it. Richard Fire Remix, Vampire Hunter, Battle Ranger Tale Shinden Ura, Real Bout. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have a couple of TurboGrafx games. I have... Oh! The Neo Geo's getting a re-release. Yeah, like, I'm super pumped for that, because that's something that's been on my hit list for years. So I'm super happy about that. But it's a good example of how, like, classic games are starting to resurface because the modern industry just can't get its shit together. And I'm disappointed, but not at all surprised. But yeah, like Fear Effect 2, Ghost in the Shell, all this stuff is immensely fun examples of their era, and some of it isn't. Some of it's bad, some of it's garbage, some of it's trash, but it is what it is. Psychic Force 2, still favorite. Rival Schools, Raystorm, Soul Blade. This game, the Sailor Moon game, I tried it out. It's actually not a bad game visually, but it plays like crap, so it is what it is. But anyway, that'll do for now, and we'll go from there, facing forward. But yeah, it's not a bad system. It's just it's got the the Polymega is definitely branching out and becoming more of a machine, and they're about to release an upgraded version that will actually work better with the N64 for you N64 fans. Me, I don't see any reason to upgrade at the moment. I might down the road, but I don't want to do that right now. Financially speaking, it's not viable, and I'm working on other stuff at the moment. So, but either way, we'll call it here. And a nice little look at the reality of the system. But yeah, these new Polymega collections are super cool because they allow you to get huge sets of games from different eras, all collected into one packaging, which makes them handy. Either way, I'll catch you all later. This is the Solo Gamer signing out. Peace.